Coming up on UGTV, Board of Commission meeting of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas.
Good evening, everyone. We want to thank you for attending tonight's commission meeting. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Roll call: Kane. Here. Markley. Walters. Here. Philbrook.
Here.
Bynum.
Here.
Walker.
Here.
Townsend.
Here.
McKiernan.
Here.
Regia.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Holland.
Here. This evening, the invocation is being given by Reverend Mike May of St. Luke's Lutheran Church. We'd ask you to please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Father in heaven, 1 week before this nation pauses to give thanks, we pause here tonight to give thanks for many blessings and also to remember that we have many things to be repentant about. But tonight we focus specifically on the blessings, particularly the blessing of living in a constitutional republic. Make us mindful that means that thankfulness makes us all accountable for the quality of our politics, the moral and ethical tone of our discourse, and the outcomes of our laws for the vulnerable of all ages. Tonight we meet here to serve our community, to represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. Make us open to others' ideas and beliefs, respecting differences and not threatened by them. Help us grow in understanding our own motives, knowing that Sometimes we act out of our own fear instead of careful reason. Let us be a force for replacing fear with insight, so we are patient and kind, understanding as we talk. Help us to find strength, real strength, in seeking common ground through compromise. By your guiding hand, lead us there. Help us move forward with a shared purpose. May we see what is truly important and what unites us, and focusing us on that to banish roadblocks of ego and fear. Today, above all, make us open to others' ideas and beliefs. To you, the creator and sustainer of all creation, be all honor and glory, praise, and thanksgiving now and forever. Amen. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for some.
Thank you, Pastor May, for coming tonight. We appreciate it. I'll ask the clerk if there are any revisions to tonight's agenda.
There are no revisions, Mayor.
All right. Our first order of business is the recognition of students and sponsors who participated in the Most Entrepreneurial City in America Challenge. I'll turn this over to Mr. Bach for presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. In coordination with the Global Entrepreneurship Week, local students and sponsors participated in a recent half-day learning team event, which was conducted by members of our local KCK Startup Village. And at this time, I'd like to introduce Adam Arredondo to come forward and present the program and introduce the students who are involved in this.
Oh, and I'll give them a second to talk, but this is Ian and Harley, and they're seniors at Schlegel. So they participate in the event. It was at the end of September. Took us a little bit to get organized to get here with you, but just a little bit about what I do and the event that they participated in, and we're seeing a lot of excitement from students. Some of you may recognize me. I'm one of the leaders of the Kansas City Startup Village, which you mentioned, and I'm just really passionate about building a community where innovation and entrepreneurship can thrive. And I've had the opportunity to do a lot of that from the Startup Village, which where I work, the co-working space is in Kansas City, Kansas. So I now lead an organization called SEED. It is the Center of Entrepreneurial Ecosystem Development. There's 4 full-time people, and we just do things to help create a better environment for innovation and entrepreneurship in Kansas City as a whole, and KCK as we work with students in your city. So one of the programs we run is called MECA Challenge. MECA stands for Most Entrepreneurial Community in America, and it's kind of based on our belief that students and educators are at the core, are a critical piece of becoming a more entrepreneurial city. Greater Kansas City Chamber said we want to be America's most entrepreneurial city. Well, what does that mean? We have to get people to buy into that and think that. So we created this event to help get students plugged in. So what it is, it's a one-day innovation competition. You'll hear a little bit just kind of what they thought about it, where they come in and they'll say they didn't even know what they were coming there for. And they come in and we give them a challenge. Sometimes it's a challenge that a local startup is facing. Sometimes it's a community challenge. We're actually finding that the community challenges are really exciting for them to get into. Before I talk about the specific challenge that we gave them, I want to show you just some of the impact we've seen from this event. And just to finish it off what it is, they at the beginning of the day, it fits into a school day. They hear the challenge. We then bring in a bunch of entrepreneurs from the community to mentor teams of 6. And then they have 3 hours to come up with a solution, and then they have to present it back to everyone that's there, all their peers, to some judges and the entrepreneurs. So it's pretty cool to kind of see if you look up, I don't know if there's video or screens anywhere else for you to look at, but we now have done this. This year we did it 16 times across the entire metro, reached about 930 students. We actually reached a bunch of teachers as well. or roughly half of the participants had never done anything like it before, and the vast majority had never done it outside of school. So it's kind of get them out, change up the environment, get them thinking quickly. But some of the key stats there that are really kind of exciting is in 7 hours, I think yours might have been 6 hours, we do a pre and post survey. And those are the percent changes related to a particular topic. So in 6 hours, they showed 25% more interest in working for a startup or working in that environment. They showed a 17% increase in confidence in their ability to solve real-world problems. So really what we're getting to the core of is trying to get at these soft skills that are required to be successful in an entrepreneurial city, in an entrepreneurial community. And one of the other things you'll see in the next slide is there's a much greater impact on urban students. But one of the things we found is it's actually generally harder for us to reach them. When we're working with suburban administrators in schools, they're not worried about transportation or safety and other things that urban administrators are worried about. So when we say we want to teach a more entrepreneurial mindset, they're kind of like, okay, that's cool, but we kind of have bigger fish to fry. We've actually been able to work with Prep KC, who has made it kind of been the middleman to help us reach the urban students. And what we've seen, and so just based on this, the blue is all students, the red are urban, and the green are suburban. You'll see across the board, almost every single measurement, the urban students are registering a bigger change, a more positive change in whatever area that is. So whether it's working for a startup, we talked about some of the bigger ones, but you can see there, knowing their role in a team, right? You see a huge one. And then which one stands out? How interested are you in being an entrepreneur? The one on the right. Urban students, where suburban students showed like a 4% increase in their interest, the urban students showed over a 20% increase in being an entrepreneur in a 6-hour period. I think getting them hands-on doing real-world things is really important. And then the other thing I said, we've done this with a bunch of teachers. Check this out. So yeah, there's a lot more awareness of what's happening in KC, but if you look at their confidence in solving real-world problems goes down fairly significantly. They thought they could do it, and then by the end of the event, they realize it's really hard. And it emphasizes the importance of integrating industry into the classroom. And so what we leave when we work with teachers is we say, stop thinking of yourself purely as a lecturer and think of yourself as an experience facilitator. You need to be bringing these experiences to students because that's what is required of them to thrive in the 21st century. So that's kind of the work we do. I want to pass it off to these guys to just talk a little bit about what they thought with the event. Oh, I got to tee up. The last thing, the challenge we gave them, so again, they didn't know what they were doing when they came in. I reached out to Alan and I said, hey, does KCK have any challenges that they would love student input on? He came back with about 20. And so he sifted through them all and tried to think of something that they could really kind of wrap their heads around quickly and kind of give some useful feedback on or get some ideas around in 3 hours. So what we ended up settling on was youth programming. And we gave them a budget of 5% of the money that the new revenue being generated by the STAR Bund. So $600,000 a year budget to come up with youth programming for students in Wyandotte County. So that was their challenge. And I'll let them talk for a second to kind of say what the event was like and what they ended up coming up with.
Hello, my name is Ian Pack. I'm a senior at Schlegel High School. When I got there, I didn't know a thing. That day, I was told what we were doing. I just kind of told we were going on a field trip to UMKC, and it had to do with engineering. I've been in engineering since 8th grade, and it's just kind of taken interest for me. This program is kind of interesting to me because it gives us a chance to solve a community problem that otherwise would be solved by somebody older, somebody who maybe has some experience with youth but isn't a youth themselves. So I kind of thought that this was a great opportunity for youth in KC to get interested in the community and find a way to improve the community.
You you want to just provide feedback, and then we can talk about your ideas.
Hi, I'm Harley King Honeywell. I'm another one of Schlegel's seniors at Schlegel High School, and I have the same experience. I did not know what we were doing either. I was told we were going to UMKC, and I was like, I've been there before, this should be fun again. And so we decided to go there, and it was really an interesting experience. I was not expecting us to get the type of notoriety that we did that day, where we got a real world scenario, a real world budget, a real world everything, to where our decisions would actually change something in the futures of other children's lives. Not children's, but young adults or whatever. And so I was really happy to see that our decisions are actually benefiting and changing others' lives instead of a normal gathering, think tank, and nothing happening. So I was really happy to see that, and I was really involved and all the other classmates of ours were really involved too. So, did you want to say something?
Yeah. So my group came up with an idea that involved urban farming. So that's not something you hear a lot anymore. When you think of an urban setting, you think kids are on their computers and their cell phones all day. So my group, along with a gentleman who has his own company, an entrepreneur, called the Handy Camel here in KC, came up with the idea of what we call the Urban Farmers of KC, which is a group that would, in theory, have a set amount of acreage, so like half an acre plot in an urban neighborhood that we would pull from the land bank. And it would be set up to where kids could earn money and and learn about farming and sustainability and things like that.
This is my idea was totally different, but to give some explanation to this, we both work on a small farming operation, and so that was his inspiration for that. And he knows that it obviously can be done because we do it, and it's not that hard of work, and it would benefit a lot more people. My idea, my group decided to re-innovate something that has already been done, but just improve on it. So we did a community center, kind of like the YMCA, but for an age group through K through 12, basically, saying that if you have to show ID and your parents bring you or whatever and sign you up, it's free for you, but to bring back revenue on it, you could have older generations come in as well to help tutor or whatever, and they would have to pay money, and that would give you back revenue on it. And so you'd have all sports facilities, but you'd also have tutor groups and quiet spaces for some of the kids to go to really loud urban schools and don't have the, or when they get home, they have problems or whatever. They can go there as a quiet space and get help and, you know, achieve higher grades and test scores and everything and ACTs or whatever. And that was basically our idea. It was just to help on the educational standpoints.
So, well, and we can open it up for a question, but it was kind of cool to see. So we had 9 teams, and there were really 2 themes. There was several teams that did something around kind of sustainability. One was collecting trash and like making bricks out of it, and then making like affordable housing from this trash. They saw it done in other communities somewhere, and before that, there's a couple of farming ones. And then actually, the most common feedback was actually a youth community center of some kind, and almost all of them focused on skills training, tutoring, and some career readiness programs. Every single one of them had that. So anyways, I'd love, if you guys have any questions, it was just really cool to see. And this was one of the first times we did a community challenge. We'd always done a business challenge, but it was really cool to see the students. They're using the same creativity and problem solving, but to see them kind of get passionate about doing something that benefits the community. And we've now decided that we're going to continue that as we continue to do more of these events. But love to open it up if you guys have any quick questions or just thoughts. And we absolutely plan to continue to work with all of KC and KCK as much as we can to continue the goal is to reach all students.
Commissioner McKiernan?
So just a couple of real quick questions. So it's really cool you get handed a whole bunch of money. Here, go spend this. So what was the biggest challenge that you found in terms of thinking about how to not only spend that money but be sustainable and keep it going? And then kind of part two is, well, I'll save part two until you answer that one.
You want to go first? So the biggest part, obviously, to get the on the budgeting was back revenue. How do you not use the $600,000, which was the budget, and then after 2 years or so of using that money, whether building a facility and then keeping it running for 2 years, it goes away. So that's why I was talking. His would bring food to the community. Plus, you would also have back revenue on people buying product of like produce and stuff. Mine was the older generations that would come in and tutor, and everybody that is a faculty in the situation would pay money to be a part of the organization itself. And you'd have sponsors like for different organizations like robotics and stuff. You have Garmin and stuff that would sponsor you, so you could have sponsors with any organization to give you money for back revenue.
And like you said, on ours it was a lot based on the most difficult part for us was how do you get youth involved, really? And that was to make a monetary incentive for us. So we went through a couple ideas whether to make that monetary incentive via scholarships, which was what we eventually came down to, was that was the best way to spend a lot of that extra money, because our budget originally encased the first year would be about $200,000 to $300,000, and then after that, the rest of that money would be spent towards scholarships, and the scholarships would have been split off in different ways depending on how many hours you worked in the year and stuff like that.
And the way we decided on what we want to do or the types of revenue or the scholarships is we all had poster boards or online documents, and we just looked at our own teammates. That's why the Mecca Challenge brought together different schools, and that you didn't know everybody, but you knew a good majority. So you'd ask everybody what would they like to do, and that was a part of getting the youth involved. If you had a moral majority that decided that they wanted, that they liked an idea, then you went with that idea, because then it's just a percentage increase from there. So.
And then real quick, part two is nobody's going to come and hand you $600,000 tomorrow.
Yeah.
But how would you say that this experience has influenced the way you approach the challenges that you are going to face now?
So for me, it was, it made the point in my mind that I could change the community, even if it was just me. One person starts a revolution, so that kind of movement helped me realize that.
I basically learned what money was on a larger scale. I decided, hey, this is not a game. We should try to be smart about this. And we tried and came up with really good solutions. And like he said, when we all finished, because there was a scale of like 1 to like 11, because there was groups, that no one came in last place. These were all good ideas, and that the judges didn't dislike any of the ideas. Whether some were underrepresented by people speaking of shyness, or so be it, different people, all ideas were great. That because you had so many different people from different walks of life commentating on the same thing, you had a good outcome no matter what. So.
Great job. Commissioner Bynum?
Thank you so much for coming and bringing a little bit of your experience. What I'm thinking about is you're both high school seniors, correct? And prior to the experience, what were you thinking about for after high school? Was it college, et cetera? And then did the day change that or adjust it in any way in terms of what you're hoping to do after high school?
For me, it didn't change one thing. Once I hit freshman year, I walked 4 miles a day for free schooling in the summer just to do an engineering academy because I was really interested in it. And it was something to do. And right now, as a senior project, working on something on a larger scale, we're working on, I'm sure you all have heard of Tesla Industries, basically.
Yes.
We're doing the same thing to farm equipment and tractors because we work on a farm. So we're electrifying gas automobiles, and we're going green. And our plan is not only college, but we plan to come out of college by the end with a business and everything. So to not just to better the community, but for clean energy and just renewable energy. So little things like that. So.
Commissioner Murguia.
So where are you going to college?
Oh, I'm sorry, did you,
I just wanted to let the other young men.
Oh, same
Okay,
answer for me.
Okay.
So where are you going to go to college?
K-State.
K-State? Very good choice. So hopefully, there's Doug. Very good choice for engineering. And hopefully you're going to stay right here in Kansas when you graduate from K-State, right?
That's the plan, at least.
And in Wyandotte County, hopefully.
Hopefully.
We'd love to have you.
So much.
all right.
I was just going to follow up real quick on your question. We actually had several other students that were planning on being here, and actually one just wasn't feeling good, and two had to go to work, that were very different, well, one younger and also a different demographic. These two obviously have a plan. Many of the urban students we work with aren't nearly as focused on where they're going as these are. And one of the things you also mentioned is in that one day, our hope is to, really the goal of this one day event is to model what education should look like. And so what we're hoping is take what what you saw in a day, and what if that was a semester, right? Where you give them a challenge at the beginning, we bring in industry people to mentor them along the way, and then at the end you do a semester of work presentation. So that's the hope. We're using this kind of as kind of the foothold to start showing educators. It's awesome that some students get these really cool experiences, but our goal is really to reach the educators and show them, like, this is what education needs to look like, at least some of the time. So.
Gentlemen, thanks for coming tonight. All right, and you should get full credit for staying for a full meeting because everything else is on a consent agenda. We now have the consent agenda before us. Anyone in attendance tonight or anyone on the commission or staff would like to remove an item? Any item not removed will be voted on with a single vote.
Move to approve all items as submitted.
Second.
Let the record show no one is moving forward to remove an item. It is properly before us. Roll call.
Roll call, Kane. Aye. Walters. Philbrook.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Walker.
Aye.
Townsend. Aye. McKiernan.
Aye.
Murguia.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. Gentlemen, again, thank you for being here. We are adjourned.
Who is this?